Alright, what is up guys? A brand new signing for the Capitals. John Carlson just signed an 8 years deal with the Capitals themselves, of course. $8 million will be the average, a $64 million deal for Jordan Carlson. I think it's definitely worth it in my mind, especially considering the season, the playoff he just had. I mean, the Cap just won the Cup. You want to keep every piece of that roster intact to compete for another 3-4 years while Ovi is still very good. I'm excited for John Carlson. I'm excited for the Capitals. I'm just a bit disappointed that we won't see or expect anything crazy that would happen on July 1st. I think you could have gotten a bit more money on July 1st, but again, when you're established into a city, you just want a cup, you're ready to take a bit of a discount to a signing deal. I mean, he was one of the best defensemen this year for sure, top 5 in my mind, and a decent defensive season as well, playing on that power play. So $64 million does not surprise me. I think it's actually a fair value for both, you know, on the Washington side of things and on Carson's side of things. You gotta consider like family and stuff like that when you've played for a few years in a city. That plays into effect. Of course, the dollar sign is nice, but I mean, two huge factor here for, well, the money was actually not that bad. I mean, we're talking about $64 million here, but I mean, family side of things is also one, and you just want a cup. You have great chemistry with those guys, so it makes sense for guys just like Stamkos took a bit of discount and stays in Tampa Bay. Now it's sad because that takes up. Now it's a bit just I'm disappointed because it takes up a big name of July 1st free agency list. Hopefully Tavares will get there to still have a bit of excitement. But I mean, just overall, my first thought on the deal, good deal for both sides. I think John Carlson just finally at his prime. It was always a bit in the shadow of, you know, Mike Green when he first started his career, and Shattenkirk a bit last year, but this year was like, here's the torch offensively. Play that first power play role all year. We won't bother you there. And he showed everybody that he can definitely be a first power play quarterback and just an overall a great 24 to 27 minute guy on any given night. Of course, a bit of a disappointment for teams for a fan base that were expecting Carlson to potentially join their team. But again, it makes sense. Everything about this deal I like, to be honest. Just a quick update of a video, and I want to get your thoughts and your feedback. If you're a Caps fan, if you're, you know, another fan of any NHL team, on do you think it's a fair value? Think it's a bit too much? Think it's a bit too much of a discount for John Carlson, considering he was definitely by far the best defenseman available on July 1st. That's also another thing. When a guy is like John Tavares, for instance, and I want to talk about this contract a bit in this next part, but for John Carlson, he was by far, the gap between him and the next defenseman available was huge. So I think a 9.5, maybe 10 million offer was definitely in the mix for him if he had, you know, free agency, because the team is willing to overpay a bit for an elite defenseman like John Carlson, especially because nobody else was available. Same thing for a guy like John Tavares. I mean, yes, there's a guy like Paul Stastny available, but he's getting older every single day. Tavares is still very much in his prime, so I think the dollar value of Tavares can be a bit more than we expect. I mean, he's definitely worth a $10 million a year, but will a team like the Montreal Canadiens with a lot of cap space willing to offer 12.5 just to land a guy that could be a huge cornerstone of your franchise when a guy like Weber and Price, still in their prime, but not for too long? It makes sense for Montreal to maybe overpay a bit. So that's why it's always this factor with free agency. The gap between you and the next player available plays a huge factor into the dollar amount that you can sign. Now, just to finish off on Tavares, I feel like the Islander draft, getting Wallstrom and Dobson in the first round, is not only huge value for them in terms of assets, but huge value for them in terms of saying, listen, Tavares, we're going somewhere. Wait a year or 2 or 3, and we'll compete. So it's always nice to have a good draft before a big name like Tavares could hit free agency. So those things are really interesting to double check. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support lately as well on the channel. Getting a lot of great feedback, getting a lot of great conversation going in the comments, which is always nice. So thank you guys so much for watching. You have an amazing day. All the best, and take care.